My fiancé, shouted someone intimately related to my name in a moment of passion. I stared at him, eyes brimming with tears, forgetting to breathe. He was incredibly cold. You know, I've never loved you. The warm atmosphere shattered the moment he said my mom's name. An eerie, subtle vibe took over the room. My clothes were a mess, throat dry and scratchy. A blink made tears fall. I opened my lips, barely audible even to myself. Sam, what are you saying? Sam, standing by the bed with his shirt buttons undone, looked down at me without any emotion. Stop pretending. You've always known I don't love you. I was frozen, my mind still processing the shock. I asked, dazed, so, you're in love with my mom? Sam's dark eyes were cold, his expression fierce and threatening, subtly yet intensely. Do you think I love you? You overestimate yourself. That broke me completely, rage eclipsing reason. I rolled off the bed and slapped him hard. Then why marry me? Go marry my mom. Sam's head whipped to the side from the slap, tension silently spreading in the room. He looked at me calmly, stepped closer, and laughed mockingly. Lucy, do you think I really want to marry you? You're just my excuse to be near Maria. That's the only way I can stay close to her. Maria. My mom's name. I call her that jokingly, but hearing it from Sam made me sick. Sam and I were childhood friends. My mom raised him, his parents were always working, and she took on the responsibility. I was proud of our bond, knowing one day I'd marry Sam. We were supposed to get married soon, like a fairy tale happy ending. Now, here he was, in my bed, saying he's always loved my mom. What was this, fate's cruel joke? Fighting back tears, I asked, does my mom know? Sam was silent, but his silence was deafening. I ripped off my engagement ring and threw it at him. Fine, take this ring and marry her. Sam grabbed my chin, eyes dark and fierce, voice cold. Lucy, you don't have a choice, you must marry me. I laughed bitterly. To be your cover for a forbidden love? In your dreams, Sam. Sam chuckled, his cold fingers caressing my neck subtly, his eyes full of an indescribable threat. He sneered at me, mocking my futility. Otherwise, your father will suffer in jail. I froze, shocked he'd use my dad against me. A single sentence hit my weakness. I went pale, clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my skin. Sam left, but not before warning, sleep well. You need to look radiant on our wedding day. No one likes a tired-looking bride. After he left, I collapsed to the ground, strength drained from my body. My dad was arrested for company accounting issues. Sam's family intervened to settle it. Without them, my mom and I couldn't live comfortably. I thought Sam helped because he loved me. Turns out, he just didn't want my mom to suffer. A memory flashed of my dad being taken away, my mom fainting into Sam's arms. I thought Sam was devoted. He wasn't holding my mom, but his lover. Many memories played like a movie, revealing all the missed details. As dawn broke, I felt a bit drowsy and drifted off. When I woke, it was the next afternoon. My mom stood by my bed, looking at me lovingly. I sat up, dazed, taking a while to gather myself. My mom wiped the sweat from my forehead gently. Did you have a nightmare? You're sweating a lot. Last night's memories flooded back. I stared blankly at her, thinking of Sam's silence when I confronted him. Lucy, why aren't you talking? Nervous about the wedding? Let's go for some skincare today. You must look beautiful as a bride. I nodded numbly and changed clothes as she instructed. While changing, I casually asked, Mom, when did you last visit Dad? She averted her gaze. About 2 months ago. I looked down at my palm, where my nails had dug in last night. Throughout the day, I followed her lead, doing skincare and trying on my wedding dress one last time. When I stepped out in the dress, Sam played the role of a perfect groom, praising my beauty. As I turned, I saw in the mirror Sam's fingers brushing my mom's palm. I sat in the dressing room, refusing to leave despite the staff urging me. Breathing was hard, a heavy weight seemed to press on my throat, stopping air from filling my chest. A shadow fell over me, making me look up. Sam's eyes scanned me from head to toe, his voice ice cold. "What are you up to?" I opened my mouth, but couldn't utter a sound. Sam's gaze showed some disdain. "Lucy, if you want your father to live, you'd better come with me now and complete this wedding ceremony." I trembled all over, tears welling up in my eyes. At this moment, my mom came in. She looked at me coldly but turned gentle when looking at Sam. She smiled and said, "Sam, you go out first." "I'll talk to her after." Sam left. My mom's face turned stern. "You know everything already." My voice trembled as I questioned, "Mom, how can you do this to me?" My mom raised an eyebrow and sneered coldly, "Children belong to their mothers from the moment they are born. I've raised you for so long, you should give me something in return, shouldn't you?" She lovingly patted my head, but her words were harsher than ever. She said, "Lucy, not every mother loves her child." My mom's words sent a chill through me. At this point, I didn't even feel anger, just sheer despair. How can a mother say such a thing so casually? The devil spoke again. "Prison is a terrible place. Some people just die after going in. You don't want your dad to end up like that, right?" At that moment, my tears completely dried up, my eyes were no longer wet. Walking down the aisle, I felt like each step was on a knife edge. Many people were sitting below, applauding and cheering for my happy marriage. But only I knew, how in this place that should signify happiness, I was being tortured inch by inch. Sam recited his vows with the ease of an actor, no flaw in sight. I even wondered if he'd taken some sort of acting class. His performance could save the declining entertainment industry. Every word of his vows seemed sincere, filled with love for me in others' ears. But only the three of us knew, Sam's words of love were actually meant for my mother, Maria. When Sam mentioned how honored he was to spend his life with the person he loved most, laughter erupted from the audience, like a mockery. I looked to the source of the laughter, Sam's half-brother, Alan. Alan's gaze was filled with disdain, leaning back lazily in his chair, clapping with sarcasm that made him look like a bandit. Sam's vows were interrupted. He paused, annoyed, then continued. I turned slightly to look at Alan, and our eyes met. In that instant, I felt a glimmer of hope. My gut told me he knew something. Who says no light can penetrate hell? Alan's eyes gradually calmed, becoming expressionless after a long pause. He chuckled softly and left. Back in my room, I took off my wedding dress, curling up on the floor in a thin layer of undergarments. The events of the past 2 days were enough to destroy my spirit. My mom's words echoed in my ears, "Not every mother loves her child." My tear glands, completely shut down under extreme mental distress, couldn't produce a single tear. Even curled up, I couldn't keep the cold out of my bones. My head was foggy, and sleep eluded me. I got up, threw on a cloak, and headed to the kitchen for some hot milk. Passing my mom's room, I heard noises. Not pleasant ones. I kept walking, not wanting to hear any more filth. Staring at the milk in my glass, Alan's meaningful smile lingered in my mind. Alan is Sam's half-brother, born from one of Sam's father's flings. He was raised outside the family and only brought to the Greens at age 10. At first, Alan wasn't welcomed at the Greens, but somehow, he won over the chairman. His status rose, almost surpassing Sam, and there were even talks of him being the next heir. Because he threatened Sam's position, I didn't think much of him either. Arrogant by nature, I either ridiculed his background or pretended he didn't exist whenever we crossed paths. He never reacted, always indifferent. He didn't care about our jabs at his illegitimacy, or our insinuations about his servile behavior to win favor from the chairman. As I stirred the cold, congealed milk, I decided to take a proactive step. Before dawn, I drove to Alan's place. Alan moved out of the Greens last year, now living near the Booths. His villa was originally a gift to Nora from the Booths for her coming-of-age ceremony. Many wanted to buy it, but the Booths wouldn't sell, until last year when Nora sold it to Alan at a low price. Rumors flew, suggesting Alan had a way with women, predicting his marriage to Nora soon. Yet, no intimate photos of them ever surfaced. The security was tight. I was stopped halfway up the mountain, unable to go further. I decided to wait there, hoping to catch Alan on his way to work. As I watched the slowly rising sunrise, my mind was still in chaos. Suddenly, 2 honks startled me. I turned around. The car's back window lowered slowly, revealing a woman mostly hidden behind sunglasses. She took them off. It was Nora. Nora looked me over and then smiled. "Miss Lucy, aren't you supposed to be enjoying your honeymoon? Here alone to watch the sunrise?" She emphasized alone heavily. I was kinda surprised Nora started talking to me. I was a bit slow on the uptake, and once I realized she was talking, I didn't respond. Instead, I asked, "Miss Nora, aren't you just getting home?" Nora's eyes were sharp and deep, with a depth far beyond her years. The corners of her eyes, tilted slightly, were red from staying up late. "I was abroad on business, just got back now, so I couldn't make it to Miss Lucy's wedding with Sam. I am really sorry about that." She got out of the car and handed me an envelope from her bag. She looked at me and said, "Consider this my personal wedding gift to Miss Lucy." I glanced down at the envelope. It didn't seem like it held a check, it felt more like photos. I took the envelope and thanked her. "Thank you for the gift, Miss Nora. I hope I can soon return the favor." A hint of something unreadable flashed in Nora's eyes, and her smile deepened. "You're here to see Alan, right? I'll let the security let you up the hill." I nodded and was about to get back in the car when Nora's voice came from behind. "My gift is best enjoyed alone, Miss Lucy." I paused for a moment, squeezed the envelope in my hand, and didn't look back. I must have arrived too early because Alan wasn't up yet. The housekeeper said I could wait for him in the living room. By the time the coffee brought by the housekeeper had gone cold, Alan appeared at the top of the stairs. Yawning, he looked down at the living room from the second floor. When I looked up, our eyes met. Alan's bathrobe hung loosely, giving off a subtle aura of decadence. When he saw me, he quirked a small smile, lazy and casual. "Lucy, shouldn't you be enjoying your honeymoon? What brings you here so early?" His voice had a lazy, almost flirtatious tone. I didn't beat around the bush. "Why were you smiling like that at the wedding yesterday?" Alan sat down in front of me, crossing his legs and chuckling softly. "So, you're here to give me a piece of your mind?" I didn't respond, just watched him quietly. Alan's smile grew, and he took a sip of the coffee brought by the housekeeper. "I spent millions buying a story from someone. Consider it my wedding gift to my sister-in-law. My gut told me this story had something to do with me." I nodded for him to continue. He looked at me with a faint, mocking smile. "Once upon a time, there was a woman every man she liked ended up falling for her sister instead, making her jealous. The man she loved used her as a stand-in for her sister but was afraid of displeasing her sister, so he wouldn't marry her. Eventually, he broke off their engagement and married someone else. Soon after, he had a son. The woman blamed all of this on her sister and hated her deeply. The sister married a wealthy businessman and shortly after giving birth to a daughter, she died in childbirth. The woman, seeking revenge, took her sister's place by consoling the grieving husband. She went from being the little girl's aunt to her most trusted mother in no time. Not long after, she also became the neighbor of the man who had jilted her and even offered to help take care of his son. In a daze, I listened, my hand clenching and unclenching at my side, struggling to keep the shock from escaping my throat. Alan seemed satisfied with my reaction, scrutinizing me with interest as his eyes darkened. "Have you ever seen a show?" The atmosphere turned weird and Tensei met his gaze, unflinching. "Never watched it." His voice was calm. "It's about a woman who, seeking revenge, raises her friend's son to her liking and then seduces him once he's grown. Do you think your mom might have taken some inspiration from that story?" Alan's words stripped away the veil over my mom and Sam's relationship. So, no secret stays hidden forever. What went on between my mom and Sam was now Alan's leverage. Their battle for inheritance had long begun. If Alan exposed Sam's affair, Sam would lose any chance of being an heir. "So you plan to use this leverage to kick Sam out of the Green's inheritance?" He fiddled with a cigarette pack, looking amused yet indifferent. "Without the Green's inheritance, Sam could still live well with your family's assets. Is that the outcome you'd like? I shook my head seriously. He lit a cigarette and took a slow drag. I can't imagine how you must be feeling right now. I looked at Alan. I know where the Green's ledger is. His hand froze mid-smoke. I continued, help me ruin them, and I'll get the ledger for you. Alan's face darkened, losing all playfulness and laziness. You serious? I stood up and looked down at him, my voice calm. Destroy what they call true love, and I'll get you that ledger. Nora's wedding gift to me was several photos of my mom and Sam kissing. Although my mom had maintained her looks well into her almost 50s, the visual impact of these photos made me want to gouge out my eyes for a clean wash. I took some strands of hair from my mom's brush and sent them for testing. If there was one thing I learned from my mom and Sam's affair, it was not to trust anyone easily. During the days waiting for the test results, I watched the drama Alan mentioned. I found that the story was nothing compared to the absurd and explosive reality of my life. I checked the books in the study every night when Sam and Mom are busy. The safe's code wasn't hard to guess. Sam is a naive man. To show his love, he even used my mom's birthday as the safe's code. I took pictures of the ledger pages in batches. It was only after seeing these ledgers that I truly understood why my dad always taught me not to leave evidence when doing bad things. You think you can use these records to threaten people into doing what you want, but these records also put a noose around your own neck. This ledger shouldn't really be called a ledger, it should be called a blacklist of crimes. It records every illegal transaction Sam has done since joining the family. Any one of the charges in it could land Sam in prison for life, but someone is protecting him. Right now, even if I report him, the evidence will just vanish. So, I need to leverage Alan's power and connections. Only if Alan takes a stand against his own family can I ensure Sam faces justice. The day the paternity test report arrived, I had to muster up a lot of courage to open it. My mom is not my mother. Maria, you can't imagine how happy I was when I discovered the results didn't match. Not every mother loves her child, but not every mother would do something as disgusting as you did. A child belongs to their mother the moment they are born, provided it's the mother who gave birth. You shouldn't threaten or warn me as a mother. You shouldn't insult the sacred role of a mother. I'm glad you're not my mother, because only then can I convince myself that the sacred role of a mother hasn't been defiled by you. Maria, you don't deserve to be called a mother. I took the paternity test report to see my dad. I pressed the report against the glass window. My dad squinted to read the results, and his face turned pale. How could you? I looked indifferent, but my choked-up voice betrayed me. Why didn't you ever tell me about my real mom? My dad's eyes darted around nervously, and he couldn't form a complete sentence. At the time, everyone advised me to move on for your sake. Maria said she was afraid you'd distance yourself from her if you knew she wasn't your real mom. Maria said she really liked you and would treat you as her own. I just wasn't thinking clearly. I cut him off harshly. So, you and Maria decided to erase my real mother from my life entirely. The woman who gave her life to bring me into this world was so easily replaced by another, and her daughter wouldn't even know she existed. My dad opened his mouth but couldn't say a word. After a long silence, he lowered his head and said with a sobbing voice, I'm sorry to your mom. I said nothing, silently gathered the report, and left. I was staring blankly at the prison walls when my phone suddenly rang. The text was simple. Alan wanted to see me. At the agreed place, a waiter opened the door for me, and I saw Nora smoking. I looked around but didn't see Alan. He must not have arrived yet. Nora glanced at me and slightly raised her chin as a greeting. Nora is known in this circle for looking down on everyone equally. She has an impressive family background, a brilliant mind, and stunning looks. It's as if God forgot to give her any flaws, so he made her arrogance her only one. I sat across from her and observed her for a few seconds. Nora, your wedding gift was quite unique. It's obvious you and Alan are a perfect match. Even your wedding gifts are so quirky. Nora leisurely exhaled smoke, her expression teasing. Lucy, Alan and I aren't some fairy tale couple. We're just straightforward business partners. She watched my face, stubbed out her cigarette, and smiled meaningfully. There's someone in Alan's heart. A woman who always looked down on him but came to him for help when she was in trouble. Nora was almost shouting my name. The mood was getting tense when the door opened and Alan walked in. Alan's eyes roamed over both of us, smirking. Why does the atmosphere feel so tense? Nora stubbed out her cigarette in the ashtray and retorted, why are you so late? Alan loosened his tie and sat on the couch, his tone lazy and deep. Traffic jam. His eyes sparkled with amusement as he looked at me. Lucy, you got here fast. No traffic from the prison? My face tensed for a moment. He was watching me. I warned him, spying on others is illegal. Alan's smile widened, his eyes betraying countless hidden schemes. Is that so? I didn't know before. He turned to Nora, where's the main act? Nora chuckled and clapped her hands. The door opened, and a woman in a cheongsam walked in. I instantly realized, the woman looked almost identical to my mom when she was younger. Alan squinted and chuckled, looking at Nora, you pulled this off. How'd you find her? Nora shook her head, it's not my skill. I bought her from Miss Maria. She turned to the woman, introduce yourself. Hi Sam, I'm Susan. I held my breath. Even her voice sounded about 80% like young Maria. Her speaking tone and mannerisms were spot on. Nora looked at my shocked face and joked, look at Lucy's reaction. Seems like your mom's got a knack for this stand-in training stuff. It's been less than a week since I ordered, and they've already delivered someone this similar. Do you think they've got a stand-in factory running secretly? Alan pondered for a while before replying, that's exactly the kind of thing they'd do. He glanced at me, resting his elbow on the sofa's armrest, and lightly rubbed his nose with his thumb. Do you think Sam will fall for it? I forced a slightly stiff smile and said, that depends on Miss Susan's skills. Nora, sensing it was time to leave, took Susan with her and exited the room, leaving us alone. As the door closed, I took out a quarter of the account book copy from my bag and handed it to him. Alan took the copy, flipped through a couple of pages, tossed it casually on the table, and looked at me intensely. I want the original. I calmly answered, you'll get the original once things are done. Alan raised an eyebrow and sneered, didn't realize Miss Lucy knew how to play the game so well. I asked him, do you want to destroy Sam or? Alan paused but then resolutely replied, I want to destroy everything. I frowned and continued, what's in it for you? The thrill, the joy of victory? I want to tear down the hell that ruined my mother and imprisoned my life. Alan's mother had also died not long after joining that family. At the funeral, Sam had sneered, better off dead than staying in this hellhole. Sam had once told me that the house felt like hell, so he preferred my place. Alan's gaze bore down on me, his voice steady, I'm actually glad that Sam didn't fall for you. Otherwise, I'd have to destroy you too. With that, he stood up, glanced at me for a second, and left. After Alan left, I weakly sat on the sofa, staring at the half cup of cold water on the table, replaying the chaotic past half-month in my mind from the second floor. I silently watched Maria snuggle up to Sam on the couch. Initially, seeing this gave me goosebumps and waves of disgust. Now, I had gotten used to it. Sam lovingly stroked Maria's hair, and their laughter occasionally drifted upstairs. Maria, you should enjoy this fleeting warmth while you can. Your world is about to be torn apart. Feeling a sense of twisted humor, I went downstairs, sat on the sofa near them, and played a certain show on the TV. They exchanged glances and got even more flirty. Seeing my lack of reaction seemed to bore them, and they started watching TV too. Not long after, I saw Maria's face stiffen bit by bit, becoming awkward. I tilted my head, enjoying her expression. Suddenly, Maria stood up and cursed, what a trashy show. It's so messed up. Sam scurried to follow her. Maria, compared to what you've done, this show ain't got nothing on you. Are you afraid Sam might make the connection? Sam started going out early and coming back late, spending more and more time on his phone, even silly smiling at it sometimes. I knew Susan had begun her work. Maria's dissatisfaction grew. They started arguing more and more. Today, they had a big fight. Sam stormed out, not returning all night. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw the photos Alan sent me on my phone. Susan had done it. So much for your love. Today, you personally handed Sam over to another woman. A woman who's about to replace you. Once things start, it's hard to stop. Sam began rarely being home, traveling more and more. Maria's dissatisfaction was growing obvious. I went shopping with her. A crowd suddenly entered, bodyguards surrounding a tall woman in sunglasses heading straight for the VIP counter, very attention-grabbing. Maria frowned. Who is that? Such a big scene. I smiled without replying and asked if she wanted to buy anything else before Maria could answer. She froze, staring at the counter, slightly agape. I followed her gaze and saw the woman take off her sunglasses and coyly snuggle into a man's embrace. It was Sam. The woman then looked our way, a smirk playing on her lips. The mystery was finally solved. This was why Sam had been away so much lately. He was dating, spending nights partying with the younger version of Maria. A livid Maria rushed over and slapped Susan. You bitch. She turned to the stunned Sam. How could you do this to me? Sam took a deep breath, warning her quietly, let's talk at home. Don't make a scene here. I coldly watched as Sam pulled Maria away. Nearby, I overheard some ladies gossiping. What does that mean? Isn't Sam her son-in-law? Shouldn't she ask how could he do this to her daughter? Didn't you hear the rumors? Another lady whispered, everyone's saying Sam and Maria are the real couple, Lucy's just a decoy. Who treats their kid like that? No wonder Lucy looked so off at the wedding. Maria, see? There are no secrets that don't get out. I stopped listening and walked away. A drama was unfolding at home, and I couldn't miss it. By the time I got back, the war had already erupted. The living room was a mess, everything breakable broken. Maria hysterically questioned Sam, have you been with that little tramp this whole time? Sam said nothing, which was as good as a confession. She wiped her face, then broke down completely and covered it with her hands. Maria regained some composure and asked, Sam, are you saying I've become too old for you? Sam opened his mouth but only managed 3 words, I'm sorry. How many men can keep loving a woman whose beauty has faded? Everyone loves youth, it's a currency, a temptation. And Sam met Susan, who was groomed by the Wynn family, few men could resist her. Maria completely broke down, collapsing to the ground and crying hysterically. I thought Sam would bend down to comfort her, but he just glanced at her and left. Maria, I thought your love was so unbreakable. Turns out it was just a fragile illusion easily shattered. I walked up and looked down at Maria, mocking her, is this your so-called unbreakable love? Maria looked up at me, our eyes met, and my mocking gaze pierced through her fragile soul. She gritted her teeth and said, you did this. I sneered, you took my mom's place after she died giving birth, and you wanted to ruin her daughter's life. Did you ever think you'd be destroyed by someone you looked down upon? You wanted to destroy Tom's life. So, you decided to turn his pride and joy into your plaything, your lover. You hated your sister, so you adored her daughter, then made her fall in love and then exposed your love affair. You shamed her, turning her into the cover for your illicit affair with Sam, destroying her completely. Maria struggled to stand, her eyes filled with malice. Turns out bloodlines can't lie, you're just like your disgusting mother, thinking all good things should belong to you. You think I should be grateful for picking up your leftovers. Your mother, who died giving birth to you, would be heartbroken if she saw your suffering, and just thinking about it makes me happy. Your mom couldn't beat me, and neither can you. After finishing her rant, she laughed maniacally. I raised my hand and slapped her, then grabbed her hair and pushed her head into the fish tank. She struggled with all her might, but I kept her down. She gradually stopped struggling, and I let go. She fell to the ground, coughing violently. I looked down at her and said, recognize the situation now? Are you my match? As agreed, I handed the ledger to Alan. Alan lounged on the sofa, his expression playful. Now rumors about Sam and Maria are everywhere. We don't even need Dad to say anything. The view outside was blurry, the glass fogged up, and I wiped it gently. The ground was covered with a layer of frost. This winter came earlier than last year. I know, I spread it. I'm not smart, but I'm not dumb either. I needed a divorce and public opinion on my side so I could walk away unscathed after Sam's downfall. I needed to be the poor girl oppressed by her mother and betrayed by her husband in the public eye. From Alan's living room window, you could see the yard. Nora was in the middle of the yard kissing a man. Alan's voice startled me, another one. I steadied myself and asked, "When will you release the ledger?" "It'll be all over the news by Monday." "So soon?" Without the ledger, Sam would be panicking. I hid in a hotel for 2 days, waiting for Monday. The night outside the floor-to-ceiling window was dark, hidden in shadows. Staring at the scenery, I thought about how to handle the upcoming events when my phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. "Are you Maria's family?" "She was in a car accident, please come to the hospital." Stunned for 2 seconds, I hung up and quickly dressed. The phone rang again, it was the same number. "Are you Sam's family?" "He was in a car accident. Please come to the hospital." Both of them in an accident? Was it a coincidence? I rushed to the hospital. Maria was dead. Covered with a white sheet, her face marred, lifeless. Sam was still in surgery. He soon got out of danger. By the time he wakes from anesthesia tomorrow, handcuffs will await him. The investigation was quick, the dashcam recorded everything. Maria drove into Sam. Her rage probably caused her to lose control and crash into a large truck. On Maria's phone, I saw Susan's text. Susan mocked Maria for being too old to have children and questioned why she hung on to a young man. There was also a pregnancy test report attached. These were bombs that drove Maria crazy, pushing her to a murder-suicide attempt with Sam. I asked Susan if she was really pregnant. Susan laughed on the phone, "No way, the report is fake. I have professional ethics, I wouldn't bring extra trouble for my employer." At the funeral, I played the role of a horrified daughter. My dad was in prison, my mom had a car crash with her lover, killing herself, and my husband was a suspect. I became the talk of the town, everyone discussing me. I pretended to be oblivious. Crying quietly, I played the part of a victim. I hired the best legal team to help with the divorce, which was finalized before Sam's sentencing. Sam's father felt guilty and gave me a large sum of money, which I didn't refuse. On the day the divorce was final, I visited my birth mother's grave. I heard she loved pink roses, so I brought a bunch. I quietly stared at the old, yellowed photo on the tombstone. I do look a lot like her. Standing there quietly, I didn't say a word, knowing she could see everything from above. After a long time, I heard myself say, "Thank you for giving birth to me." I placed down the flowers and turned to leave.